Hello, my name's Paul.
Hi, my name's Rachel.
And we are the English Language Lab. And this is our business English podcast, BizPod.
We're going to try to teach you everything you need to know about business English.
So, whether you need English for job hunting, presentations, meetings, or any other form of communication, you have come to the right place.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy BizPod.
Hi Rachel.
Hi Paul.
And welcome everybody to another episode of BizPod. What is our subject for today, Rachel?
Business vocabulary, business expressions.
So let's talk about what is business vocabulary first of all then, because I don't think there's really any difference between normal everyday English and business English.
You know that's wrong. You're just saying that, aren't you, to pose a statement. There definitely is. Business vocabulary is often vocabulary you would not use in normal life because it's related to certain areas of business.
Yeah. But what about, what about if you're, if you're drinking a cup of coffee with a friend in a cafe, or drinking a cup of coffee and having a chat with a colleague at work? Is there any difference in the language that you would use in those two situations, do you think?
Well, it depends what you're talking about. I mean, if you're talking about a project at work, yeah, you might be using project management vocabulary. But if you're talking about, did you get down the pub with your mates at the weekend? How's the cat? Then it's just chit chat, small talk, isn't it?
Yeah. There's always a cat involved somewhere, isn't there?
Or a dog. What about ways to learn vocabulary then, if business vocabulary? I mean, how would you suggest people approach it?
Yeah, well, I think it's I think what you have to do, you have to be very, very specific. Whether you're learning vocabulary, just general vocabulary, or whether you want to learn business vocabulary, you have to be very specific because vocabulary is a vast area, and if you just think, right, I'm going to learn all of the vocabulary I need for business, that's potentially tens of thousands of words.
Absolutely, yeah.
And a lot of those words would not be relevant to what you actually want or need to say at work. So,
very good point.
So I think what you have to do is be very specific about the job or the function that you want to perform with English.
Okay. So, for example, if like I said, project management, you focus on project management, leadership.
Deadlines,
project management, goal setting, forecasting.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you're talking about finance, budgets, you want to talk about data, you want words related to describing change over time. Exactly.
Right. One of my students, I remember, used to work in the export shipping department for a company.
Okay.
So their vocabulary was very, very specific and quite tricky relating to, exporting goods from one country to another.
Well, there is actually a section of English called English for a specific purpose. So legal English is an example of that. Medical English is another example of that. But I think, that can be just as broad as business English, really.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about medical English, if you think about all of the different disciplines within the medical industry, they all have specialist vocabulary.
Oh, medical industry. Would you call it an industry or a service? Depends whether you're a customer, a user, a provider.
That's true. I think if you work in it, you work in an industry.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I expect a service from my medical professionals. Though.
All right. Well, let's talk about the actual vocabulary. So say you've decided, okay, I want to learn some more business vocabulary. You've decided the specific target area that you want to focus on. What sort of things should you be looking for?
I think what you have to do is think about first of all, I think you have to think about or try and make sure you understand the words that you already know that can be used in that specific situation or scenario.
Yeah.
Because you probably know lots of words that are okay to use in a business situation.
And they do say, don't they? You should always go from what you know and then take yourself into where you don't know to build on the knowledge you already have.
Exactly. And if you think about it, you may actually find that for what one specific task that you need to perform, you actually have all of the vocabulary you need anyway. You don't need to learn any more vocabulary. You just need to use the words that you already know in that situation.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the good place to start.
Okay. All right. Well, then following on from that, I would suggest people then look at things like synonyms. So that's other words different to the ones you know that have the same meaning. So that gives you more variety in the words you can choose. And then obviously you've got to look at the antonyms, the opposites. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Then I think linking words is very important, because certain areas of business English, you would use certain linking words, like presentation skills. You've got to have the kind of linking words that indicate to your audience where you're going next with the presentation. Whereas if you're doing a business report, a written piece, it might be totally different.
Yeah. So you have to be able to distinguish in that case between your formal and your informal vocabulary.
Exactly. Yes.
But there's also this gray area as well, which is like the semi-formal.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah. So we have the formal, the semi-formal, and the formal.
Okay. All right. Okay,
obviously, in those business situations, perhaps the more formal language is more appropriate, but not always.
No. Yeah, sometimes you can offend people by being too formal, can't you? You can be standoffish. People don't want to engage with you because they go, ooh, too formal.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then you've got to look at things like related words. So if you're looking up, I don't know, if you're looking about economics, budgeting, then you might want to go from budgeting to banking or to insurance. Yeah. And then there's things like easily confused words. There are so many words in English, especially business English, that people get confused, like the difference between a diagram and a graph. Yeah. The difference between to check something or to control it.
Okay. Yeah.
Or being efficient or being effective.
Yeah, because they both have, different meanings.
They do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And students sometimes think they're exchangeable, and they're not. And you can totally get the wrong end of the message and mess things up, couldn't you, if you use the wrong word?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you might get the wrong end of the stick.
Oh, you might. Yeah. And then not be able to get the ball rolling. Slipping in some idioms there.
Yeah. I had an interesting conversation recently with a student who was finding the business English conversations very, very difficult.
Okay.
And what it came down to was not a lack of English, but a lack of knowledge about a certain subject.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that perhaps you might have to consider. Perhaps you're trying to use English to do something that you do not have the knowledge to do, even in your own native language.
Yeah. But then there's also, to do the flip side of that, I had a student recently who sent a message saying they wanted some lessons because they felt they got no confidence at all. And they got buckets of confidence. They were just going into an agile working environment. They'd never worked in that environment before. They didn't know anything about sprint methodology. They didn't know about scrum meetings and all this. And they were just bamboozled by all the vocabulary and didn't know what it meant, and thought that they were going to have problems with their English. But it was a whole new team, and none of the other team members knew anything about it. So they're all in the same boat. And I was just like, just dive in. There's nothing wrong with your confidence. Your English is good. You just need to, get involved, get in there, ask questions. And if you don't understand, raise your hand, you know what I mean? So sometimes they might think that there's a problem with their English because they don't know their vocabulary, but it's just new vocabulary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean there's anything. I mean, there's loads of words, even us, our age, new words pop up and we're like, what does that mean? I've never heard that in my 51 years of life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, there are new words being created in the English language all the time. But then there are also, specialist technical words that we've just never had any need to learn or hear before.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ever go to hospital for any sort of major operation, the doctors are going to say lots of things that you're not going to have a single clue what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Unless you are a doctor or a surgeon yourself.
Yeah. That's very true. Okay. All right. So what's our advice to people who are listening to this if they want to learn more business English vocabulary, business English expressions?
Well, I would say number one, consolidate what you already know.
Yeah. Number two, target your focus area. Don't just go for any old business English. Decide, okay, I want to focus on this area. Yeah.
Okay. And number three, I think it's obvious. It's obvious. Come to us at the English Language Lab.
Put it into practice. Yeah, there's no point learning all these words if you don't actually use them.
Yeah, exactly. So come to us at the English Language Lab for help and then put it into practice.
Okay. All right. That sounds like good advice.
Okay. And I suppose the fourth piece of advice we have to give people, is listen to BizPod.
Of course, yeah. Go through the back catalogue, listen to previous episodes, check out the website for all the additional materials, the transcript, the extra videos we pop in there. Yeah. And there's actually a class that we gave that goes with this conversation, isn't there? Where people can learn some new vocabulary.
Yeah.
Okay. God, and they get all of this for free.
I know. We should charge, shouldn't we?
We should, yeah. That's the start, won't we? Okay. All right, Paul. I'll speak to you next time.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.